From the city of brotherly love, this is Shark Bite Biz with David Strausser.
Oops, you did it again. You just arrived to the newest episode of Shark Bite Biz. I'm your rockstar wannabe host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during complete global chaos. As always, this episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsor and Acumatica Gold partner, Stellar One. If your business is ready to move off of QuickBooks or some other antiquated solution, or God forbid, you're doing things manually, it's time to give us a ring. David at sharkbitebiz.com or go to stellar1.io. Now let's get back to today's episode, okay? We're going to be talking about sales for the first half, but then for the second half of the show, most importantly to me, we're going to be talking about my favorite topic, ERP. What's ERP? Well, you're going to learn during this episode because it is pretty awesome, and it'll explain even why small businesses need it to be able to operate at full capacity. So, who do we have today? None other than Sanket Akerkar. Sanket Akerkar leads worldwide sales, business development, customer success, technical enablement, and business relationships for Acumatica. He is deeply invested in ensuring the success of Acumatica's partners and resellers while simultaneously growing the company's bottom line and increasing customer satisfaction and retention. Sanket is a channel leader with more than 20 years of experience in the software industry, having held leadership positions at companies including Naruto and Microsoft. So hey, without further ado, let's bring Sanket right on in here.
Business strategy.
Sanket, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. You, my friend, you just became Shark Bait.
Wonderful, David. Thank you very much for having me on the show. Appreciate it, and I hope I can stay alive through this.
Yeah, I hope you can do too, because I tell you what, you are a CRO, and I have not had many I've had CROs, CEOs, CXOs, whatever you want to call them, but not from a company like Acumatica. So that to me is an honor in and of itself. Thank you so much for coming on, my friend. But the first question I've got to ask you, we have a tradition on this show. Very first question I ask everybody. Doesn't matter where you come from, what your experience is. I mean, just saying that you're the CRO of Acumatica should be credentials enough. But I always like to set that down, let's talk about where you came from, what your experience is, what do you do for a living, and how you got there. Basically tell me in a nutshell what makes Sanket.
Wow, that's well, we don't have a lot of time, so I'll try to run through the Cliff Notes version of that.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, we got, I'm over 50, right? So I got 50 years of stories to probably tell on that story.
You don't look a day over 49.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. So, I would say this. Look, as you go through, everyone goes through their life, they figured out what they like, what they enjoy doing, and what they're good at. Right? And you really want to distill that. And it takes a long time in many cases for people to figure that out. I know through my life, I figured out a couple things that for me are the things that I think I like and enjoy and that I'm good at. And then, the last question is, can you get paid for it? Is really the ending, right? Can you actually get paid for it? And so the things that I like to do and sort of have found me my career and my industry and the set of things that I do is, number one, I think I'm a pretty good problem solver. I do really, really well on my feet, particularly just sort of, working through things and being able to identify problems. I'm particularly really good with math, doing numbers in my head and working through things. And the third thing is I'm pretty good about distilling what's in a situation to negotiate where to go, where to take something. What's the fastest path between 2 points. And that was, that sort of originates in my undergrad. My engineering background was operations research, which was a lot of math and optimization. It was always figuring out what's the fastest distance between 2 points. That led me into a consulting career, which was all about problem solving and all that sort of stuff. And then I found myself at Microsoft working in sales. And I found that role helped me to bring all those things together, right? So working with customers, helping them solve their problems, figuring out how to help them get between 2 points was what I really enjoyed. And that's led me here. And then I think the last part of that, which I found that I also really enjoyed, is I probably get the most personal satisfaction of seeing other people grow. And that let me move from, what I would say it was a first line seller, first line manager into more leadership positions.
Sanket, sorry to interrupt you, but that's like the whole point of this podcast is it's built on personal growth, professional growth, and then finally we get into business growth. It's based on what I call the 3Gs philosophy. And that's where we try to help people grow no matter what it is to break through any barriers that are preventing growth.
Yeah. And so, I think I forget when it was a few years ago. This was a chief people officer at Microsoft at the time said, "Hey, what are you the most proud of?" And I said, what I'm most proud of is in the last 3 jobs I held, the person who replaced me worked for me. You didn't have to find somebody else. And so to make yourself non-relevant, to get yourself out of a job and have someone else replace you, to me is one of the things I'm the most proud of. So to me, it's all of those pieces together has allowed me to take different roles, solve different problems, work with different people. And that sort of at the end of it led me to where I am today.
One of the last things that you said there about people replacing you, I feel that in the sales world, and it doesn't matter if you're in retail or if you're in ERP or some other tech solution or some unrelated industry, a lot of sales managers, sales directors, VP of sales, they always have a fear that, oh, if my people get too good, they're going to end up taking my job. And to me, I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but I always felt like, no, my job is to make them better than I ever was with sales. And I want them to sell more than I ever did in sales because then one, my job is going to be secure because I'm doing my job. But two, they're kicking butt. They're making money. They're happy. There's no turnover. And then on top of it, I'm making money because they're making money. So it kind of goes full circle. But there's a lot of people that have, I call it a fake fear, but they have that fake fear. And I don't think that's really like something that managers, executives, young executives, directors, that they should be fearful of. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I'll take it. I'm going to answer your question a slightly different way from a business strategy perspective, and I hope I'll answer it. If I don't, then you tell me. So the typical problem in sales is always, what deal did you close yesterday, right? So salespeople and sales managers are always focused on what did I deliver this week, what I deliver this month, what I deliver this quarter. And so you're very, very myopic.
What did you deliver today? And I don't care about what you did yesterday. It's all about what did you do today. But I tell my people, like, hey, take a day, maybe 2 days, celebrate, enjoy the win, savor the win. But then you're back down at 0 and we're starting all over again. And we got to get you another win like that.
Yes, exactly. And so, but the thing is that if you're a salesperson and you carry a bag, you know that it's not just about the deal you closed yesterday or this week or this month. You are always cultivating business. If you are not always cultivating business, building relationships, thinking of new products, thinking of new things, because the business of technology moves, the business of business moves. If you're not always strategizing and spending some part of your day building a pipe, some part of your day advancing your pipe, some part of your day closing a pipe, you are not going to be successful in the long term.
Do you mind if I jump in real quick?
No, go for it.
I think some people, like for example, for me with my current company, I'm VP of sales, but I am also the sales rep for the time being until we build out our whole sales team. A lot of people have problem with that because they feel like, oh, I'm taking a step backwards. And it's like, no, like to me, I have no problem. It's like, okay, yes, I got to make some cold calls. I'm not the biggest fan of making cold calls. Like I kind of, in one set of my head, I kind of feel like I'm above that. But on the other side of my head, I'm like, no, because I am building up what I'm going to have in the future. And that's where that is the side of my head that is winning, to where it's like I'm fighting for that because I know that I go out, I do that dirty, I do that grunt work again that I did when I was younger, that it's going to have me with my full sales team a year from now, 6 months from now, whatever the time frame be. I mean, I don't, with this economy and everything that's going on in the globe, who knows how long it'll be, but it's what's going to set me up for that next step. And I have to do that work in order for it to happen. So it's like you take one step backwards to go two steps forward.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. You have to do that. You got to invest in order to grow. It doesn't work otherwise, right? And so that's super important at the individual seller level, super important at the manager level. And then when you have a bigger business or you're thinking about it end to end, you still have to spend time on all those things. And so for me, it's always like, okay, if I have salespeople or sales managers working for me, I need them to be able to essentially retire their quota without my involvement. Because if they can do that,
but without your involvement, because
ideally.
Okay, ideally. So, okay, now you're a CRO, which is different than like a VP of sales position. You probably do have a VP of sales under you? Okay. So from me and my perspective, the way that I view it is that if I can get a sales rep to take a deal from A to Y, and I got to do Z to get the deal closed over the finish line, that sales rep did their job, because Z is probably negotiating contracts or hard terms that may be beyond, like legalese, all that stuff that may be beyond that sales rep. And that's where, to me, that's an ideal situation. And sometimes, even though I'm VP of sales and they want me to do everything, I'll bring in my COO, for example, Aaron, who is fabulous. I'll bring him in just because of the fact that, it's kind of backing me up, since I'm almost a one-man show at this time, but we do have pre-sales under me and stuff like that. But what's your take on that then?
Yeah, so that'll always be the case. There'll be scenarios where in order to close a deal, it'll have to be escalated. They need someone to give them commitment. They need someone to make a specific commitment on a term, or you have to have empowerment. You have to have a structure that you say, okay, we're only going to put this deal because this is the way it's structured. For sure, those will never go away. That's sort of the cost of doing business. But when you can get your team to really do and carry all the water, of most of the water themselves.
Most of the water, like I said, A to Y.
A to Y. Then that frees your brain to think about what next. So that frees me to think about, should we be in a new geography? Should we be thinking about another customer segment? Should I have another partner program? How am I thinking about us managing our existing customers? So like now what you're doing is you're spending time on things that don't necessarily, may or may not help you say, I can retire my quota this year, but you're starting to lay the groundwork for the things that drive the business in a multi-year way to a substantially different level. And so when you start to then manage that portfolio of like, you execute the tyranny of the now, right? I got to go close a deal this week, to the how do I actually spend time to invest on the things that are going to be game changing 18 months from now or 24 months from now. That's the balance. And so thinking through that is important, because I think it goes back to your point, right? The mistake that a lot of sales leaders will say is, I have to be involved in every deal. And that's the mistake.
Well, hold on. So let me take a step back. So again, I'm coming from your CRO and I'm a VP of sales. So with me, I want to be involved in every deal as far as I know what's going on. And I will strategize with the sales rep as far as, hey, this is going to be our strategy going forward, but it's up to them to actually execute. One thing I learned early on being a sales manager is that what I can execute and what they can execute are two different things. I can't expect everybody to be a carbon copy of David, and things that I can get over with my corny jokes and all that stuff, you know, I can do it, but they may not necessarily be able to do it. And, I have to accept that and live within their limitations of what they can do. But I am in the know. I know what's going on. I know what's happening, stuff like that. And then it's up to them to do that day-to-day work. And then at the end, if I got to go in to close a deal, sometimes they close it on their own, you know, which is amazing. That is fabulous because sometimes you don't have a customer that red line takes a 25-page contract and turns it into 73 pages with red lines. Sometimes you don't have that, which is a good situation. But, when that does happen, that's where I step in to kind of get that into that like next level discussion that the sales rep, most sales reps can't do that. And it's not really their job negotiating the legal terms and stuff like that anyways, with most companies. So that's where I kind of view that it's a win-win. If they can get it to that far, I'm happy, I'm content, and I view that as a success. But we are like, I guess I agree with you, but I don't.
Yes, I can see that.
I agree because I don't need to be in front of every single customer. I don't need to be talking to every single deal that we have. And again, for those that, just for full transparency, everybody knows out there, I'm with Stellar One Consulting or Stellar1.io. We are an Acumatica Go partner, and Sanket is the CRO of Acumatica. So we are business partners together. And the way that I view it, with me and my sales team when that fully gets developed is that like I'm they're able to manage things to a certain level, but I'm going to be coaching them in the background, and that's through our weekly sales meeting, that's through our one-on-ones. And then after that, then if they need help because they can't get to that level Z and get that deal closed on their end, that's where I step in. Or maybe it's not even at Z. Maybe I realize like, hey, this is a difficult customer and I got to step in at W to help them from that A to Z process. It all depends on the customer, but ideally they could take it A to Y on their own, hopefully A to Z. And that's where I kind of view that it's a juggling act, and it all depends on the actual opportunity you have.
It does. It does. I mean, the other part of it, which is an important piece, is what's the motivation and the intent for learning of the salesperson, right? So I have a strong belief that, you should only have folks on your team that are willing to learn and get better.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't have that, then you're sort of, it's a really, really hard, thing to accomplish.
If you don't have people that want to get better and are not listening to Shark Bite Biz every single week, then they do not belong on your team. That's all I will say.
So then you say, okay, I got a collection of people who are where they are, the skill set, they want to get better. Then I do think it's part and parcel for, that leader to say, what do I need to do in order to adjust my approach with each individual so that I can help them to get better at whatever they want to get better at, right? So you're creating space for them. And the other part of that is, which I think is also really interesting, how much space you create depends on the capability and how far from a skill set that person is, but you want it to be slightly uncomfortable. I also have another phrase.
Slightly uncomfortable. Hold on. So this is one of the areas I got to interrupt you on. Like I told you when we talked the first time, like there would be interruptions. So when you say slightly uncomfortable, define slightly uncomfortable. I want to hear your definition of that.
Yeah, so I feel that, you're not really learning unless you're uncomfortable. An individual's not learning unless they're uncomfortable. So what does that mean? That means that I'm at a point where I am deciding what to do next to accomplish a task, achieve a goal, go down a path, but I'm not sure what to do. And so I'm looking and I'm going, I have no basis of recollection because in my experience set, I've never done this before, or I've done it a few times, so I'm not so sure. I'm not exactly clear. I have a view of the goal, but I don't know what my next 3 steps are. That's when you're now uncomfortable, right? And so you have to push yourself to go, where am I going to figure out what to do next? And that is interesting. To me, that's a learning moment, because in most cases, what you need to do is ask a question, or probably ask 10 questions. And then you go, who am I going to ask these questions to? That's also a really good question, because you don't want to ask, someone who's never sold before. And I've seen this mistake. People start asking people without the right credentials. You may or may want to ask your manager, usually a good place to start, or you may want to ask someone else that you think has some credibility and that can give you a view. And so you take that into account and you say, okay, I'm now open to learning and I'm be open to this information. And I have to admit that I don't know what I'm doing. And for salespeople, this is really hard. I think
That's the ego. That's the ego aspect, in my opinion, because salespeople do not like to admit when they don't know something or when they're not wrong. And that's where it's up to the sales manager, sales director, VP of sales, whoever's in charge, to know that individual at a more deeper level, to be able to understand that he doesn't know, and that's where I've got to teach him.
Yes. And then you say, like, hey, am I, and then you may determine at that point, am I the best person to teach at this moment? Like, is this person going to learn from me, or are they going to learn from someone else? Right. And sometimes it's okay to go, let them figure out how they need to learn, because not everyone learns the same way.
That's where we talked earlier, where I was saying about how one of the earliest things that I learned in my sales career, especially being in the management executive space, was that not everybody is able to sell how I can sell. I can go out and sell a deal, and I can sell it quick, and I can sell it in a way it'll make people laugh. I'll say what everybody's thinking, but nobody wants to say it out loud. And I will get that across with the punchline perfect 99% of the time. And everybody will love it. And I wear the bracelets and it makes me memorable and all those things. But not every sales rep is like that, and not every sales rep can do that. And that's where it's up to the manager, I think, to determine where those limitations are and where they draw those lines.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's very true. And it's not an easy thing to do. It's not easy to, really adequately and appropriately identify strengths and weaknesses of an individual. It's generally hard to know what situations do I want to take a risk or not take a risk on, the implications of that.
When you say risk, it to me, when I hear where do I want to take a risk, to me, thinking again as a VP of sales and executive level, as you are a C level, to me, when I hear risk, it's like, do I let them do it themselves? Or is that where I start to get involved into the sales cycle and start taking those challenges on? And then maybe I'm leading it and they're doing more of the grunt work as far as setting up meetings. That's how I interpreted what you just said. Is that accurate?
I think that's accurate. Yeah, once you understand that level of risk, you may say, okay, I may need to, exactly what you said, take it over or lean back. It sort of depends.
Perfect. So let me so first off, I mean, like I said, having a top-notch company like Acumatica on the show is rare. We've had some other high profile tech companies on this show, but a CRO from a company like this level has been rare. So I had to talk to you about the sales stuff. Let's talk about the business side of things. Let's change topics. Now we're going to do a 360 flip, okay? A lot of companies out there, they're using, I don't know if you've heard of this system, but it's like QuickBooks or something like that. I don't even know how to pronounce it correctly. It's that bad. But they use that, and then maybe some Excel sheets and stuff like that. And maybe they have 5 or 6 different systems that are all in different silos. What's your advice to companies like that?
Yeah, I mean, my general advice is this. I mean, one, it's got to start with the owner, founder, CEO, right? What are they trying to achieve? Are they trying to grow their business? Are they happy with it being stagnant? Are they happy with what they have? Like, and that depends. I'm not making any judgment on what people say is their known strategy. People have life goals. There's other considerations in there. So, having a 5 or 6 or $10 million business and keeping it that way may be the right thing, and that may be fine. I do think that there are many of those companies that are like that do have a goal for growth. They're thinking about expansion. They're thinking about, what do I do to take a 5 or $10 million company and in 4 or 5 years make it a 40 or $50 million company or $100 million company, whatever it is. And for those people, those founders, CEO, owners, who are like, okay, I want to scale my business, I want to grow. I think we've all seen this over the last 15, 20 years, is that technology is not only, a nice to have, it's a requirement for getting your business to grow. And it does it in 2 ways. It's either, number one, going to help you provide the lubricant or oil inside of your engine, whatever you're doing, to make it run faster, better, smoother, right? And I think there's lots of great examples of that in terms of how to think about it. And then the second part, which I find super fascinating too, is that technology can be a really, really good way to reach new customers or new markets. That it's not just about internal processes and making them efficient, but it can be actually about, how do I sell my product, or how do I reach new customers in a different way? And we've seen that in many different instances, right?
Right. Biggest question we get, okay, is you go out, you get an ERP, which for everybody that's new, you should know ERP by now if you listen to this show. Enterprise Resource Planning, think of business management solution software, is how I like to sum it up nicely, where it manages your financials and your business from A to Z. It's the heart, soul, mind of your business, okay? So getting a software solution like that, okay, does it eliminate jobs or does it create jobs for that business?
I think at the net, it creates jobs, because the part of that, which I think is the fundamental piece, is that if you can remove the manual tracking, which in many cases is low level work, and is not in some ways generating a ton of value for the business, you automate that. What you do is you free the humans to start to then think about what they can do to drive growth. How do I find new customers?
Free the humans. Free the humans. Hashtag free the humans. That is going to be the name of the episode. Free the humans. But and no, it's actually true, because if you think about it, they don't have to fill out Excel sheets, or, God forbid they're in an Access database. They don't have to fill out those types of things. And it allows them to actually drive growth for the business, instead of having to sometimes fill out things 2, 3, 4 times in all these different systems, because you have one system that, and maybe you're putting it into a system that's, we're talking Acumatica. So let's say we're putting it into a system that's not Acumatica right now, but it feeds into Acumatica, and that's where all that data is captured. And that is critical as far as the stakeholders, as far as the C-level is concerned. Like, hey, how much money am I owed? Okay, how much money do we owe? How many customers owe us money past 45 days or 60 days or 90 days or whatever, things they want. They have those instant analytics. And I had someone talking about the power of the cloud on the show, probably almost nearly 150, 160 episodes ago. And they said a phrase that stuck with me since then. And that is that the power of the cloud allows small to mid-sized businesses to get Fortune 50 technology at the fraction of the cost. Do you think that's true, or is that not true?
I do think it's true, and that is very much the power of the cloud. The fact that we now are able to create these technologies that are scalable, connected, accessed anywhere, always updated, have phenomenal road.
Access anywhere. Let's just clarify that. So, like, for example, with Acumatica, you can do it with cell phone, whether it's Android, iPhone, iPad, Android tablet, computer, Mac. I mean, if you have a device that can connect to the internet, unless you're probably using Internet C or Microsoft CE, which I'd have to double check that one with one of our solution architects. That might be one of the only things that, because it's so antiquated. But besides that, I mean, any modern device out there, you're able to connect and you're able to get real-time data analytics and business intelligence from the system. Is that true?
That is very true. Yeah, if you've got a browser, whatever that browser's on, whatever device, exactly, you named them off, you're going to get access to that system. And you're going to be able to do that work wherever you are. You could be on a beach, you could be on the top of a skyscraper, you could be on a plane. You're going to be able to get your work done.
Hey, we use Acumatica in-house right now, and I'll tell you what. Somehow, when I picked up my kids this weekend, I got 2 nails in my tire. But when I was getting the nails patched for that night, because I only thought it was 1, but it ended up being 2 when they checked off 4 tires. I ended up working from the repair shop, and it was like I didn't miss a heartbeat. Like, everything worked out perfectly. I was able to do everything I needed, and it was, to me, it's an incredible experience. Couple other things I want to talk about, because not many people know Acumatica in the way that they may know some of the competitors. Like, you already mentioned Microsoft, but I mean, let's be truthful. There's Oracle, there's SAP, there's all those competitors out there. There's, I think, 2 major differences that separate you all from the rest of the gang, okay? One of them is that you all are consumption based, which means you're not paying user based fees. So if you have 15 users or you have 150 users, you can get unlimited users with somebody like Acumatica. Can you explain that to us real quick, and exactly how that consumption-based model works?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to me to think about it is to use a home analogy, right? So in your house right now, you have faucets in the bathroom, in the kitchen, whatever.
I just got a $900 water bill. Let's not talk about water.
But you don't. But you pay. But this actually is good. You don't pay by how many faucets you have in your house. You pay by how much water you use. And that's exactly how Acumatica works. And so for us, it's all about how much of the cloud and how much of the modules that you're actually using, how many transactions you run. Based on that, your actual usage of the ERP is how you pay for it. We actually want to democratize ERP, so we allow all users to be able to come and access all the information using their web browser. And one of the things that's really great is we don't penalize you for even giving that information to people who are not employees. We want you to give that information to your vendors and your customers. They're part of your ecosystem. Why would they not want to know?
They can get that through portals, right?
They can get that through portals. They can, or even if you have temp workers, they can come in, they can get access. They can see what you're building, what you're making, where inventory is, where the orders are, where the shipments are. All that stuff is in the system, and we want people to use it all. Again, it goes back to.
And again, to clarify, just so that there's some business owner out there thinking like, I get a temp worker and they're going to be able to see everything. No, you are able to limit permissions down to how low down do you go? User defined fields, I imagine. Like you can say what they can and can't see, correct?
Yeah, it's all the way down to workspaces and specific areas of data with specific business processes. You can lock out specific accounts. Yeah, there's all sorts of ways you can control the access to the data, but the fact is you control it, but you can give that person access to what you need them to have access to.
That is amazing. And I think for small businesses that know like, hey, I need a solution that's not QuickBooks because it's not managing our inventory correctly, or Odoo, I hear a lot like with QuickBooks in that discussion, or some other solution, even Zoho, for example. And they're like, yeah, it's not working anymore, and we need that next step up. That's where I think Acumatica really comes in, because again, you're on consumption basis and you're not being restricted upon how many users you're using, but you're being restricted upon your consumption basis.
Actually, you're not even being restricted. We're enabling you to consume more, right? So the view to look at it is, if you use more, then you pay for more. If you use less, you pay for less, right? So it's much more aligned to, what.
Much more flexible, yes. And restricted was the wrong word, so thank you for correcting me with that. But last area I wanted to jump into real quick was with Acumatica. This blew my mind when I was going through the Acumatica sales consultant training portion, which is that you all actually have an ERP bill of rights for your customers, which I don't know any other ERP platform out there that has an actual bill of rights.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, I think this is you said there were two things that differentiate us, and I would say the abstraction of the bill of rights is that we fundamentally believe that we're here obviously for our customers. Our customers drive everything that we do on a daily basis. And so we wanted to make sure that we were really clear with our customers. What do we stand for? What do we provide? What they can hold us accountable for? And we're absolutely willing to write that down and share it and be public about it. We know that our competitors don't do that. They're not transparent. They're not necessarily easy to work with. They've got different objectives in mind, and ours are, very, very simple, which I think are just being purely customer focused. That trumps everything else.
Like even with Acumatica, I mean, you have written into your bill of rights as far as like, hey, annual price increases will be no more than what? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 3%.
No, so that actually what we've done is, so our in our bill of rights, what we talk about is that we like to have very transparent contracts. We want them easy to understand.
Transparent contracts, right?
And we also document, what your price increase is for the entire life of the contract. So no one actually does that. No one talks about when you sign up for the entire life, as long as you keep a contract, if you were to keep renewing, what that increase is going to be. We have that documented. We have it on our licensing guide in terms of what that looks like. And just to be transparent about that, we've said it will be no more than 10%. That's the most, and that we've had to change that recently, given what's happened with inflation. But our history is we've actually never increased the annual amount by more than 3% for any of our.
Okay, that's where the 3% came into. Okay. So I was half right with that, but I was pretty close. Not too shabby for being new to Acumatica. But I will say, I don't know if you know this, Sanket, but with Stellar One, we actually have as part of our agreements that if you join with Acumatica as part of Stellar One, we will actually give you a 5-year price lock in our contracts, even if there's those increases from you all. We will guarantee that your price remains the same for up to 5 years. What do you think of that? Is that pretty gnarly? Like, how many partners actually do that? How many VARs, as we call them in our industry?
Yeah, I don't actually, it's a great question. I think it is very, very valid. I think it's very customer focused. It aligns to, what customers want. I want some price protection. I know what I'm going to spend. And so that's really, really good. I think that is very customer friendly. So I think I don't actually know how many of our VARs do something like that, but I think it's good.
You have Stellar One, I'm telling you right now.
You guys are doing it. And I think the only other thing I would say, which we do is very different than everyone else, is we just have annual contracts. So a lot of our competition will force a customer into a 3 or 5 year commitment.
Or 7.
Or 7. We don't ask you that. We're saying, hey, we're asking for an annual contract that just renews, and you choose at the end of the 1 year, you don't want to stay with us, you can leave. We're not making you stay with us for a longer period of time than you want to. You'll want to stay because you love the software and you love what we're doing, but that's why we want you to stay.
And that's part of the reason why I love Stellar One so much, because, we do sell other products other than Acumatica, unfortunately, but that's how life goes in our industry. But with that, I will say that regardless, we only sign 1-year contracts. And the reason is because Stellar One wants to actually earn your business each and every single year. Okay. Just like you're saying that you want the 1-year contract because you want to earn it each year. That is Stellar One's philosophy across the board, regardless of what a customer purchases. And I think that's pretty awesome. Another unique item we have, I don't know if you know, but a lot of customers, one of their biggest pain points, if they're switching to ERP, okay, and they're going from a QuickBooks to something like an Acumatica, okay, is that one of the biggest complaints I hear from sales is, oh, we're paying for X, X, and X, and we're not even able to use the system because we're not up, running, and live. So one really cool thing as far as Stellar goes is we got like our rapid prototyping to where we get users in and using the system as soon as possible. It's a 3-phase approach. So that way, maybe we get financials up and running first, and that way they're already using financials and they're starting to get an ROI almost instantly. And then we're building the phase 2 with the second rapid prototyping, and then a phase 3 with the final rapid prototyping with a final go live for everything. But in the meantime, we're getting users in, learning the system, knowing the system, and able to get an ROI as quick as possible. And our goal is with Acumatica, we try to get people live between 90 and 120 days. Now, this is talking more core Acumatica with limited add-ons. If you come in and you're like, hey, I need 30 different integrations, okay, we're going to have another different discussion. But if you're talking more core Acumatica, especially with all your embedded integrations out of the box, like it's pretty gnarly the way that we're able to do things and get things running quickly so that the customer can realize the efficiency, they recoup that money right away. Because to me, ERP, and this is something I've taken to the heart in the last decade in the industry, is that this is a true growth partnership. Our job is to give you a software that now there's 2 ingredients, okay? One is having the right software stack, which, in this case would be Acumatica. 2 would be having the right partner, which in this case, again, would be Stellar One. But if you have both of those matched up and you have the right partner that's able to deliver, okay, getting you in so that you can get that ROI as quick as possible is a huge, major difference.
No, I think I love the sequencing. I love doing things in those phase approaches, getting fast to ROI. Because I think the other part We were talking about customers coming from QuickBooks, but we also see we have a lot of customers that come from other ERP solutions, in many cases, legacy solutions.
They're still using green screen solutions out there. There's companies using green screen solutions,
which is crazy. And so for them, unfortunately have been left into 1985 to come back to 2023. It's a big jump. And so that training, what does this look like? Oh, I can get it on my phone. Oh my gosh, I can get this in my home computer. I'm not VPNing in. All this sort of stuff is a huge lift. And so getting that adoption curve going, getting people to understand it. And then what you do is you build champions inside the organization that can help raise that awareness and bring other people along. And that sort of feeds on itself. I think if you do the go big bang, most people will be like, what just happened? And they look left and right. They don't know what's happening. But if you do that in a phased approach, then you've got people along the ride with you. And then other people can go, oh, I know the accounting team did it. Well, maybe I should ask them, even though I'm in operations. And so then that becomes easier as time goes on. I think it's a really smart approach.
A lot of companies want to do that big bang approach. And that is one of the, again, from the sales side, trying to get a net new name sale. That is one of the bigger discussions that we have. Like, do you really need a big bang approach? Like, do you really need everything live at day one? Like, why can you not? Like, I challenge them as far as like, hey, we can make this easier, simpler, more cost effective for you all if you just trust us. And it's not like I'm saying trust us and we're a fly by night guy. I mean, the owner of our company was one of Elon's first employees. I don't know first employees, but he was one of his early on employees as far as building the ERP at SpaceX. Okay. Like he's literally a rocket scientist and an ERP genius. So like he definitely knows as far as what he's doing, as far as getting things up fast going, because Elon's not an easy dude to work for and he wants things done quick. And that's why I think our CEO, Richard, like he's got this stuff down pretty well and we have an amazing team supporting us. So anyways, before I let you go, do you have any final words of wisdom, small businesses that are struggling on any of those legacy or smaller solutions? I call them Band-Aid solutions because they only last for a couple years and then you need to get something like Acumatica. But any of those Band-Aid solutions out there that you think would, they should really consider before they look at Acumatica?
Yeah, I mean, I would leave you with a couple of thoughts, a message to those folks and say, number one, don't discount the impact your ERP solution can have on the operations and growth of your business. That I think is really fundamental. And, I think that goes, my analogy, if I continue down the plumbing analogy, it's like you bought a 50-year-old house and you decided to, put new paint and new furniture in there, but you decided to keep the copper piping and the old wires still in the building. And if you don't fix that infrastructure, that core underlying infrastructure, which we feel is like the ERP is the backbone and the data record for a business. If you don't update that, it's going to be a really, really difficult thing to consider. That's number one. And then the second message I would say is, for any of those folks that are out there, is take a real good look at the companies that are there and their reason for being, and particularly what end users think of those companies. I think those can be really, really strong, give you a strong sense of where you're going to get the most support, hand-holding, commitment from a longer-term perspective in terms of where that business is going to head. And so, I'd ask any of those folks in those spaces to do their homework, consider those things, invest in the ERP to drive growth, and really focus on, what other end users and customers say about the technology providers that you're considering.
Perfect. So very final question I got to ask you.
Yeah.
How can people reach out, one, to your company, because you got an amazing company. Hopefully you tell them our website instead of yours, but how can they reach out to your company? And also, in case someone wants to reach out to you directly, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, so to reach out to Acumatica is great. Just go to acumatica.com. We've got easy ways to contact us through acumatica.com. And if you're looking for a job, we've got our jobs up there. If you're looking for a solution, we have a way to support you. Or you're looking to partner, we have those too. All three are great. And then if you're looking to reach out to me, LinkedIn is great. So I'm on LinkedIn, Sanket Akerkar. You can find me pretty easily. And my email, if you want to reach out, is very easy. It's just sanket.akerkar@acumatica.com. Happy to engage with anyone. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and we will have the Acumatica link right that you all know this, but right below the description, we will have usually it's Stellar One, but I will have an Acumatica and a stellar1.io site, which is our dedicated Acumatica site for Stellar One, who again sponsor of the show. So thank you, Stellar One, so much, and also thank you, Acumatica, for being here, and Sanket, and dude, you rock. This was great. Thank you so much for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's fun.
thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Wow, that was an incredible chat with Sanket, right? First, you all know the routine. If you found this interview helpful, if it sparked some warm and fuzzies, do me a favor. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. But if you really want to help us out, because you know Shark Bite Biz is the greatest kept secret in the world of small business, please share us out to your friends, your family, your colleagues, wherever you dwell out there on the interwebs. I don't care. Just get the word out. I'd love to see nothing more than Sanket, Acumatica, and Shark Bite Biz out there trending. Now, let's talk about my key point. And that is, and I got this from this episode, but I already knew this, but I think this episode reiterates that. And that's no matter how small your business is, from 1 to even 1,000 users, with Acumatica's consumption-based model, having an ERP bill of rights, basically they have a solution for your business of any size, okay? Do not be afraid thinking that ERP is only for big businesses. It is for small businesses as well. Awesome stuff, Sanket. Thank you so much for coming on, sharing your experience, and helping businesses grow via the promise of the cloud. Question of the day. What do you think about running your business in the cloud? Leave a comment down below on YouTube. Do you want to be in the show? Interviews at sharkbitebiz.com. Don't forget, join the channel, $3 a month. You can become a baby shark if you're watching on YouTube. Every dollar in is every dollar we put out, getting this show bigger and better. And lastly, a huge shout out to our sponsor, Stellar One Consulting, an Acumatica partner. So if you loved what you saw with Sanket, reach out to me, David at sharkbitebiz.com. Or just go to stellar1.io and find out more about Acumatica. You all know this by now, but I'll say it once again. I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz. We'll see you all next episode. Ciao.
You've just experienced Shark Bite Biz with Dave Strausser. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the show to help us spread the word about personal, professional, and business growth. Want to be on the show? Send an email to interviews@sharkbitebiz.com. Special shout out to our sponsor, an SAP and Acumatica Gold Partner, Stellar One. Get off QuickBooks. Automate businesses' processes and have your business reach the stars. StellarOneConsulting.com or reach out to the show. Till next episode,